Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I'm going to be bringing to you guys is a video on the fastest way to earn your Trade Aptitude rewards or cashes in New World 1.2 and beyond. Now, these are going to be obviously fairly self-explanatory for some things, but I'm going to pick up on some of the more unnoticeable things or some extra things you can do that can really help to boost your way along these resources and kind of your progress towards these Trade Skill Aptitude rewards. Now, for those of you that don't know or want a little bit more clarification, the rewards I'm talking about is when you get to level 200. Like you can see, I am in weaponsmithing here. Every time you get a third of the way done, the first third being at this marker, the second third being at this marker here, and then the third one being back at the top, you get a crate. And each level you get, the first box is the least good of the three, second box is the second most good, and then the third one is the best and contains the most items, and obviously has a bigger chance to give you things like, for example on the crafting ones, Asmodeum, which is why obviously these are super popular right now, with Asmodeum being something that is a daily cooldown, or for example Phoenix Weave, Runic Leather. These are daily cooldown items, so if you do get them dropped from these Trade Skill Aptitude caches, which is a possibility, and it's quite regular, then that is obviously, you can get above 10 per day, so it's really worth it. Also, on top of that, you can also get other things, such as from the furnishing one, which I haven't done yet. I haven't got that to 200, but you are able to get things like stacked decks and other epic variants to be able to upgrade your trophies from the Trade Skill Aptitude caches on those ones. So I'm going to go over some of my fastest methods for leveling these up, so you guys can actually get involved and hopefully get a lot of these caches for yourself. So the first thing here I'm going to cover is the gathering. As you guys can see, I'm on tracking and skinning, I'm on mining, and I am on harvesting. Little bit of slacking on the logging, but we are getting there slowly but surely. And the fishing, well, let's just not talk about that. But as far as I am aware, the fishing ones are bugged at the moment anyway, so let's say it's intentional. With the gathering then, gather everything. What you want to be doing is going around the world and gathering as much as you possibly can. And this is because whatever material it is, whether it's tier 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, you're going to need it. As you guys can see, if you come into the loom, for example, you will need the fibers to craft the linen, which is then crafted into the sateen with crafting reagents, etc. So getting as much of those base tier resources as you possibly can is always going to be useful, as it's going to get you the XP in the refining and eventually the crafting as well. Now with this, the higher tier items do obviously give you more XP. So for example, harvesting something like the silk fiber. If you go on to your harvesting one, this is kind of the fastest one I would say out of the 4 that you can do, or the 5 including fishing. So if you go down here to the wire fiber, this is obviously going to be your fastest way to get the XP because it gives you the most. But you're more commonly going to see things like silkweed, and then even more commonly hemp and farm plants, etc. And of course magical plants as well. Gathering all of these is going to be really good. Now one really good thing about harvesting is that things like magical creatures, which you do need to get for those aptitude potions, so they either sell for a lot, same with motes, are needed for a lot of stuff right now. They either sell for a lot or you can use them yourself, and they give you XP. Now there is also things that go around the world like the bulrush cobs. So if we look in here, I've got a few in my inventory right now. These bad boys actually don't give you any XP for harvesting them, unfortunately, which is a shame because they are needed for most of, well, all of the health potion creations and some other recipes in the Arcana table. So people are buying these, but they don't give you any XP, so it's up to you whether you want to gather things like the vines and the bulrush, etc. But if you want in money or you want in other XP from crafting and refining, it's worth it. If you're not bothered about that, you're just going for gathering, then make sure you're skipping these items. And of course, special gathering objects, like I mentioned there, the elemental stones, the rune stones, elemental plants, anything along that side, give you great money as well as the XP. So the gathering is fairly straightforward then. So next, we're going to move on to refining. So refining, obviously you can see here, the weaving is cut off by the camera, but this is at 200 and I'm about halfway to my second cache. We've then got smelting, woodworking, stone cutting and leatherworking. Now obviously, if you're going for your daily crafts, so your daily limits, you are limited to 10 Asmodeum with smelting, 10 Phoenix Weave with weaving, 10 glittering ebony with woodworking, and 10 runic leather with leatherworking. Now, of course, that is why people go for the aptitude caches, because they can give you extra, and that is why doing these the fastest is going to be absolutely pivotal. So if we head over to the loom here right now, obviously this one isn't tier 5, we're getting the upgrades done. We had a little invasion the other day, but we're getting back to it. You guys will be able to see that you're able to craft those. I have my cooldown up now, so when this is upgraded, I'll be able to craft these. And basically, you'll need one of each of the legendary materials. And obviously, by far, these give you a lot of XP. And they are very good. But it's not by far and away the best. Actually, the best XP by a long shot is going to be the tier 5 versions of whatever station you're on. So the infused silk, infused leather, or a calcum, etc. gives you the most XP by a long way, and it's the XP that actually gets you progression towards those next caches and rewards. So that's what you want to be looking at. Now, of course, you want to do your daily crafts, these Phoenix Weave, for example, here in the loom, every single day, because it is very, very worth it. You can make a ton of money, or if you're at endgame, you're going to be rolling these yourself loads and loads of times, so having the materials is going to be much more beneficial. But when you're in between that, as I said before, with going back to the gathering side of things, just gather everything that you can, because you're going to want to make as much of this infused silk or infused leather or a calcum, whatever, as you can, or ironwood, because these are going to give you the most XP. If we look at it in order, linen gives 36 per. Then on satin, you're going up to 190 per, but bear in mind you have to put a crafting reagent in. Then silk is silk threads and satin, and again, you will also need a crafting reagent. Can be any level, they don't have to be particularly high levels, but the tier 4s have a better chance at giving you the extra additional chance. And then if you see here, just on the right, you guys can see the chance. When I put that up from the tier 4, which is 15, the tier 5 gives me a 40% chance. And then we move up to the final one here, and we get a tier 4. Again, you will need wire fiber for this. That's the tier 5 variant with the silk. And with your tier 4 variant, you've got 8% chance. And with the tier 5, you've got a 13% chance. And this stuff sells for a lot of money. You do need it as well for crafting in the dailies, but obviously you're in massive surplus like I am here by the time you've crafted quite a bit of this, so you're not going to worry about it too much, but you can sell it for quite a lot of money as well if you are gathering daily, getting those caches for gathering as well as you're refining. That can be really, really good. Another thing that's really worth noting as well with the refining, which a lot of people miss out on, is actually material conversion. If you see here down the bottom right, it tells you that you get plus 189 weaving per time that you do a conversion. And right now, I've obviously got some conversion here. I've got 44 converters on me, but I could convert, let's say, solvents. I want to make all of those into these tier 5 wire weave. I would have to have the loom at tier 5, but that would be something I'm able to do. And each time I do that, I make 189 weaving XP. And also, if you transfer some of the less popular ones into something like flux, which sells for a lot, you can make a big margin on profit here. If you buy wire weave, which on my server is like 0.2, and turn it into obsidian flux with the converters, which obviously you need the faction points for, then you can actually make probably around a gold or two per thing that you convert, as well as some XP. So you can't go wrong there. Don't miss out on that. It's some good free money and good XP, so don't miss that one. One thing also to note is that your blister weave, your scale cloth, so your legendary variant materials offer 0 XP. You get absolutely nothing when you're crafting these, so in my opinion, it's very expensive and pretty much not at all worthwhile unless you're desperate to get them in order to get these. But if you do get the gathering trade skill aptitude caches of the relevant skill, it will give you these ones in the caches, as well as the chance to get them when you're gathering those tier 5 nodes anyway. So personally, I would never craft these ones, but if you are going to do it, just be aware it doesn't give you any XP either, so really not that worth. Moving finally then onto the crafting. This is where the big juice of it comes from, because of course this is where you can get your Asmodeum, your Phoenix Weave, your Runic Leather, etc., which is what everybody is after right now. And obviously, as you can see, I'm at level 200 weaponsmithing. Obviously, you have got your main candidates, which is going to be your highest tier of weapons, armor, etc., whatever you can craft, life staffs, whatever the case may be for your particular skill. So the highest tier things always offer the most. And what you'll notice here as well is if you actually put in, for example, the, where is it, the tier 5, yeah, the infused leather, and then change it out for runic leather and glittering ebony and Asmodeum, you don't get any extra XP for that. So you just want to, obviously, if you're just going for XP solely, you just want to use the lowest tier materials. You also don't get any for taking it down to coarse leather, etc., because you're still using the tier 5 metal. So this is going to be fairly costly in terms of orichalcum costs, but in the other two stuff, it's actually pretty cheap to do. You can just craft out these levels very, very quickly. 10,000 per on these, which is really, really nice. Now, if you do have some of these recipes for the higher end stuff, and this is going to be the same whether it's for engineering, as you guys can see here, or whether it is for your weaponsmithing, these are always going to give you more XP. But as you can see, the crafting recipes, they require Asmodeum, runic leather, glittering ebony, legendary components, and basically they're very, very expensive, so they're not going to be a sustainable way to get your crafting levels up. And this is across the board. You can do it, especially if you're going to roll stuff for yourself, like I rolled myself for Yulkather. That got me 24,000 weaponsmithing XP, which is really, really good in one go. But it is only basically 2 and a bit hammers, so it's going to, in terms of material costs, be a lot cheaper to spam out the hammers. I think they're the best ones for weaponsmithing. If you're doing that, you can also do great axes, same difference there. You can do shields as well now. They've been corrected, so they take a little bit less materials, but do give you less XP. XP. Same with rapiers and swords, etc. But you can kind of look through it and see what you want to craft. Essentially just the highest tier of whatever crafting skill you're trying to do, whether it be arcana, jewel crafting, whatever. Highest tier, spam it out and you should get the most XP. If you're able to do rolls for people in your company or other people on your friends list and they give you the materials to roll a weapon or armor or etc. for them, obviously you're getting free XP for doing that, so always try and be helpful. It will pay out for you if you get a Trade Skill Aptitude cache, because these things are absolutely nuts. They can drop recipes, they can drop schematics, they can drop Asmodeum and other, daily craft items like I said, and they can also drop some really good trade mods and craft mods, and stuff like that. So make sure that you do definitely get as many of these as you can, as I would say the crafting ones are probably the hardest ones to do because you don't tend to spam craft the endgame stuff quite as much. Now with this as well, one other thing to note, if you are on, for example, your weaponsmithing like I am here, you've got your honing stones. These are going to be something that people use a lot of. They want to buy them for wars. They are quite expensive to make. Death and Fire quintessences and Obsidian Voidstone all sell for, maybe 80 to 90 gold each on the quintessences, and maybe between 15 and 20 gold on the Obsidian Voidstone on my server at least. Obviously, these could be different server to server, but generally it will be quite expensive because it's a lot of materials, but it's certainly worth it. The buff that they give is really, really good, and you can definitely sell these on war days for people absolutely in a profit at the very least. And of course, if people give you the materials to make them for them or for the company or whatever the case may be, maybe you want to use some company money if you talk to your governor and they'll give you 20k to put into materials to make some of these to give out to people, still worth doing because you will get some XP. It's not quite as much as your weapons and stuff, but it is still very, very decent. Other than that as well, you've got other things like incense. If you are on the arcana side of things, you're going to be able to get a really, really good deal because any potions, any gemstone dust, any oak flesh balms, anything like that, any consumable type things people use in the wars is going to be super, super useful, and people are always going to want to buy them. And of course, as you guys can see here, I'm only at common incense, but any incenses, affliction resistances, always going to be really, really good as well and going to be worth a lot of money, so it's worth spam crafting a load of those to get yourself a little bit of extra XP and something that will either make you a profit or will be useful in game. Now, one really important thing with crafting that a lot of people miss out on as well is actually going to be your town board quests. These ones are kind of a funny one because you'll see if we go in here, the level 0 ones obviously only give you 600. Then you go to the level 50. This is for weaponsmithing. You guys can see in the bottom right. You've got 1845. Level 100, you get 6,888. But when you do actually get up to a level 50, which unfortunately I don't have an active one for right now, these give you 13,104, and they only ask for star metal resources, which is very, very good, very cheap to do, and will give you a ton of XP very, very easily. So if you do manage to get any of the 150 level town board quests for the respective skill that you have maxed, it's certainly worth it. Personally, I just go through and do them all because it costs you a few materials, but it does give a decent amount of XP, and you are going to get the town board rep, the gold, etc. for doing it. So you might as well do it. It does get you a little bit closer to your aptitude, and of course, it does give you more XP than what you would get for crafting weapons in the range of the materials that you're using, so it is still more worth it. Obviously, just the lower ones down, not quite as worth it as doing your endgame ones and your Orichalcum weapons or whatever it might be in terms of what skill you're on. But in my opinion, like I said, just to get the town board rep up and your overall area rep up and stuff like that as well, I think personally it's really good, but it's entirely your choice whether you want to do that. But I would always take the level 150 plus stuff because that is really, really good for the materials it takes versus the XP that it gives. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, found it useful and informative, and hopefully you guys can get yourselves a lot of these Trade Skill Aptitude caches in whatever trade and life skill that you want to be doing. They're all really, really good and worth it, so hopefully you guys can get your hands on some of those and be getting ahead on those materials very, very nicely. If you have enjoyed today's video, guys, please do be sure to leave a like on the video down below, and if you are new to this channel, make sure you drop in a subscribe. We are pushing for 13,000 subscribers here on the channel right now, so if you could help me out by dropping a subscribe down below, that would be much, much appreciated. And make sure that you've got the notification bell on, as I do upload every single day, so I would love to have you here as part of my YouTube community. Other than that, guys, as always, thank you for your time, thank you for watching, and I will catch you again tomorrow with another upload. Take care and peace.